Good morning. I am Roy Fidel Hernandez, Ano the Third, together with my groupmates Vincent Laureta and Lance Navarro. Now let's talk about electrocution and forensic pathology, understanding the mechanisms and forensic investigation. In this presentation, we'll dive into the world of forensic pathology to understand electrocution, its mechanisms, and the crucial role forensic investigations play in such cases. We'll explore the definition of electrocution, its relevance in forensic contexts, the pathways electricity takes through the body, and the resulting effects. So, what is electrocution? Electrocution refers to death or serious injury caused by electric shock. Relevance: understanding the forensic aspects of electrocution helps determine the cause and manner of death in suspected cases. Electrocution is a serious and potentially fatal event. When electricity passes through the body, it can cause significant damage, leading to death in severe cases. In the realm of forensic pathology, understanding the mechanisms of electrocution becomes crucial for investigating suspicious deaths. By examining the body and the scene, forensic pathologists can determine the cause, such as electrocution, and the manner, whether it is by accident, suicide, homicide. Mechanism of electrocution. Electric current, it is the flow of electrons through a conductor. Now there are two types of current. First, we have alternating current, which constantly changes direction. Next, we have direct current, which flows in a single direction. Effects on the body. Thermal burns at entry and exit points where electricity enters and leaves the body. Cardiac, disruption of normal heart rhythm leading to cardiac arrest. Last, we have neurological, nerve damage and muscle contractions or tetany. Electrocution occurs when electricity travels through the body. This current, essentially a flow of electrons, can take two main forms. Just like what I said earlier, alternating current and direct current. AC is the type of current found in most household outlets and constantly reverses direction. DC, on the other hand, flows in a single direction, like that from a battery. The effects of electricity from the body depend on the type of current, the voltage, strength, and the pathway it takes. The most common effects include thermal damage, causing burns at the entry and exit points, disruption of the heart's rhythm, potentially leading to cardiac arrest, and nerve damage causing muscle contractions, also known as tetany. In an autopsy study of fatal electrocution dated July 2022, all the cases' electrical fatalities referred by the police for autopsies were analyzed and examined. For its prevalence, electrical fatalities represent a significant portion of autopsies, accounting for 4%. Males are overwhelmingly more affected than females, with a ratio of 14.5:1. It's crucial to understand if this reflects occupational differences or other factors. Accidental deaths are the leading cause, accounting for 96.8%. However, further investigation is necessary to identify potential causes of the accidents. Low voltage electrical current is surprisingly responsible for 79% of fatalities. This emphasizes the importance of electrical safety precautions even at seemingly lower voltage levels. The right hand is the most common contact point for injuries, which counts for 51.7%, while nearly 10% or 9.7% show no contact or exit injuries. This suggests potential indirect electrocution or hidden internal injuries. Now, allow my groupmate to continue the report.
Good morning. My name is Vincent Laureta, and I will be discussing pathophysiology. For resistance, skin resistance varies with moisture and thickness. So the body experiences several physiological disturbances when an electric current flows through it. The current flow, how far it travels through the body, and how long it is exposed for all affect how serious the damage is. The resistance that human skin provides to the flow of electrical current is known as skin resistance. It depends on two key factors. First is moisture. So the sweat contains electrolytes or salts which make wet skin behave like a better conductor. A greater current may flow through the body since there is less resistance when there is more moisture present. Thickness. Greater resistance is provided by thicker skin. Thick layers give more resistance to areas like the palms and soles. On the other hand, resistance is lower on eyelids with thinner skin. For entry and exit wounds, these are often found on hands and feet, indicating the path of the current. Formation. The extreme heat produced when an electrical current flows through tissue in the body is what causes these wounds. The entrance wound is identified by the burn caused by the high resistance at the site of contact with the electrical source. The exit wound is the term for the burn that results from the current leaving the body along the path of least resistance. Next is location. The hands and feet are the extremities that are most likely to come into touch with electrical sources. Hence, this is where these wounds are usually discovered. The location, however, may change according on the specifics of the electrocution. So, the importance of entry and exit wounds. First is path of current. Medical personnel can better comprehend the path of the current passed through the body by knowing the location of the entrance and exit wounds, assessing the possible harm to internal organs, muscle, and nerves. Along that, the path requires expertise of this kind. Next is severity of injury. The severity of the burns at the entry and exit points can also indicate the intensity of the current and the potential for deeper tissue damage. There won't always be distinct entry and exit wounds in electrocution cases. There are situations where the electricity can go through the body without burning the skin, when compared to the entry wound in high voltage electrocution. The exit wound may be larger or possibly present in more than one place. Internal damage. Damage to organs and tissues along the current path. So internal damage from electrocution. So when an electrical current passes through the body, it can damage various organs and tissues along its path. The severity of the damage depends on several factors, including amount of current, which higher current causes more significant damage. Next is path of current. The current's path through the body determines which organs and tissues are most affected. Duration of exposure. Longer exposure allows more time for damage to occur. Here are some of the common types of internal damage caused by electrocution. Electrical current can cause injury to muscles, resulting in weakenings, spasms, and even tissue death. Cardiac damage. The current can disrupt the heart's electrical rhythm, potentially causing arrhythmias like ventricular fibrillation or irregular and ineffective heartbeats, which can be fatal. Damage to the nervous system. Depending on the direction taken by the current, it may cause paralysis, convulsions, or even a loss of feeling. Next is organ damage. In extreme situations, the current may cause harm to internal organs such as the kidneys, brain, or muscles. Even if the harm might not be seen right away, there could be detrimental long-term effects. So why internal damage is concerning? Internal injury might go undetected for a while and take longer to show symptoms than burns, which are usually obvious. Because of this, even if the victim appears to be doing okay in the surface, it is imperative that you get medical help right away following an electrocution occurrence. In order to reduce the likelihood of problems, early identification and treatment are essential. So damage to blood vessels. The current has the potential to harm blood vessels, which might compromise blood supply to essential organs and cause internal bleeding. Next is compartment syndrome. When there is significant muscular injury, swelling may compress blood vessels and neurons, resulting in compartment syndrome. To avoid irreversible tissue damage, this needs urgent medical attention. Next is forensic investigation. First is scene examination. So forensic investigation, scene examination for electrocution cases. In situations of electrocution, a careful investigation of the site is essential to ascertain the reason and mode of death, like accident, suicide, and homicide. The essential actions for forensic investigators are broken down as follows. So first is scene security and safety. Make sure everything is secure at the site first. If it's possible, turn off the electrical supply or have someone trained to do it for you. To prevent such mishaps, only arrive at the site when it is safe to do so. To stop contamination and tampering, secure the area. This might entail setting up a boundary, limiting entry, and taking pictures and making drawings of the location. For the scene examination, victim examination. Document the body's position, clothes, and any injuries, like burns, wounds from entry or exit, that are obvious. If homicide is suspected, look for defensive wounds or indications of struggle. Electrical source identification. Determine which electrical source is most likely responsible for the electrocution. Power lines, appliances, extension cables, and broken wiring might all be the cause of this. Next is electrical hazard assessment. Only qualified individuals should evaluate the electrical system to find any problems or weaknesses and to look for possible threats. Next is scene documentation. Capture the body's location, the electrical source, the surrounding area, and any possible evidence like broken tools, water on the floor, and more, by taking a lot of pictures of the scene. In-depth drawings must be made in order to record the dimensions and arrangement of the scene. Next is evidence collection. So, collect potential evidence including samples for microscopic examination from the entrance and exit wounds if available. The victim's personal belongings and clothing for traces of metal or fibers. Electrical source samples for study, like burned wires or broken insulation. And last is the witness accounts and any pertinent history data. Investigative considerations. So, reconstruction of events based on information from witness testimony, the location of the body, and the electrical source. The investigator will try to piece together what happened before the electrocution. Next is autopsy. In order to ascertain the cause of death and verify electrocution, a medical examiner will conduct an autopsy. There will be an examination of internal damage and the currents coursed through the body. Toxicology testing. To exclude the possibility of drugs or alcohol influencing the victim's judgment, toxicology testing may be carried out. Interviews. Families, friends, and any other person who might know something about the occurrence for the victims or the victim's pre-event actions will be questioned by investigators. Scene examination. Examine the electrical source for any indications of manipulation. In some situations, this can point to foul play. Take notes about the weather. The risk of electrocution might rise in damp conditions. Be aware that ground fault circuit interrupters or GFCIs are present. Under some circumstances, these safety gadgets can aid in preventing electrocution. Note the position of the body and any signs of forced entry. Body position. Determining the potential cause. The body's posture might provide information about the events leading up to the electrocution. Holding onto an electrical source. If the victim is continuing to hold onto the electrical source, this may indicate an intentional contact. Distance from source. If there is a lot of space between the body and the source, it might be a sign of high voltage or an effort to retreat after contact. Next is defensive wounds. The existence of defensive wounds may indicate a fight and maybe indicate foul play. Next is current path. The position of the body can also provide information about the current path. Muscle rigidity or rigor mortis can occasionally take over where the current left the body. Autopsy findings. Burns and charring at entry and exit points, internal injuries like hemorrhage, organ damage, histological examination, microscopic examination of tissues for signs of electrical injury. It is usual for an autopsy of a person who died from electrocution to reveal burns and charring at the entry and exit locations. Here is a closer examination of the implications of these findings. Burns and charring and electrocution. First is electrical injury mechanism. Tissues in the body reject electricity as it travels through them. Heat is produced by this resistance, which causes burns at the entry and exit points, where the current leaves the body. Next is burn severity. Several factors determine how severe a burn is. Amount of current. Deeper charring and more severe burns result with higher current. Length of exposure. Extended exposure promotes greater heat production and more severe burns. Next is skin condition. Dry skin may be more resistant to burns, which might result in more localized burns. Wider burns result from wet skin's superior conductivity. Next is voltage. Compared to low voltage, high voltage might result in more explosive injuries and deeper charring. Autopsy significance. So, confirmation of electrocution. Burns are a significant indicator that electrocution was the cause of death, especially if they have a distinct entry and exit pattern. Path of current. The burn site's location may be caused to ascertain the route that the current traveled through the body. Knowing which internal organs may have been most impacted is made easier with the use of this knowledge. Next is evaluation of severity. Some insight into the degree of the electrical injury can be obtained from the size and depth of the burns. Additional autopsy findings and electrocution. So internal injuries, even in the absence of visible burns, electrocution can harm internal organs such as the heart, muscles, and brain. The autopsies will check these organs for evidence of injury. Next is electrical current. This can cause small rips and hemorrhages in muscles, resulting in injury to the muscles. Next is cardiac arrhythmias. Evidence of irregular heart rhythms that may have contributed to mortality may be found at the autopsy. Last is damage to blood vessels. The current may cause damage to blood vessels which may result in internal bleeding. Next is electrocution cases. So the first is the accidental electrocution. So a 25-year-old male construction worker sustained accidental electrical shock while working on a construction site from an overheated high-tension wire. The electric arcing set his clothes on fire and he fell down unconscious on the ground 5 feet below. Patient was thereafter rescued by bystanders and brought to the hospital within 30 minutes. At the time of admission, he was conscious, confused, uncooperative, and violent. He was unable to recall the events leading to the injury. He denied having chest pain or dyspnea. Examination and resuscitation were possible only after sedating and restraining him. The pulse was 104 per minute and blood pressure was 120/90. There was no entry or exit wound. The face, including eyebrows, neck, thorax, upper abdomen, and thighs were burnt. This comprised 50% of body surface area. Burns were full thickness in lower limbs. He also had a lacerated wound on the right frontal region. Examination of the abdomen, cardiovascular, and respiratory system was normal. There was no congestive heart failure, focal neurological deficit, or features of smoke inhalation. Next is homicidal electrocution. So, an unusual case wherein the dead body of a middle-aged man was found lying in a suspicious condition on the roadside of desolated area. There was circumferential grooved electrocution lesions over the left and right second toes, with oval electrocution lesions on the medial aspects of both the left and right third toes. There were split lacerations over the right high parietal region, right pinna, and forehead. There was avulsion of the nail of the left thumb. Pressure abrasion was consistent with a ligature mark on the lower part of the left leg. The locations and pattern of these injuries raised the possibility of torture infliction. Death was attributed to electrocution, which was confirmed by histopathology. Autopsy findings and possible inferences were furnished to the police. This case highlights the careful observation of different characterizations and locations of the wounds and deducing inferences about the possible manner of death. Last is suicidal electrocution. A 28-year-old male was found dead on a bed in a hotel. He had 2 electric wires, the ends of which were fastened to each coin, 50 and 100 yen. The coins were attached to a left hypochondrial region and the left side of the chest. The other ends of the wires were connected to a time switch, which had been connected to a plug top. An empty box of a commercially available hypnotic, a suicide notes, and a manual book for suicide were found at the spot. As autopsy findings, both burns on the left hypochondrial region and on the left side of the chest were carbonized at their central parts, and erythema were also noted around them. Histological findings were consistent with electric marks and the burns, showed vital reactions. Copper stain was slightly positive, iron stain was negative. The blood level showed that he had been moderately intoxicated by the drug, but not fatal. The cause of death was thus judged to be suicidal electrocution. It seems that suicide was influenced by a manual book of suicide which was found in his bag.
Good morning, everyone. I am Lance Jetrick D. Navarro, and I will continue about the report of electrocution in forensic pathology. The differential diagnosis for burns. Ito po yung mga examples of burns. First is thermal burns, fire caused by direct exposure to flames, hot liquids, from boiling water, steam or hot drinks, hot objects, contact with heated metals, glass, or other materials. Sunburn due to prolonged exposure to the sun's ultraviolet rays. Second one is the chemical burns, such as acids. Example is sulfuric acid and hydrochloric acid. Bases such as sodium hydroxide, ammonia, organic compounds such as phenols, and gasoline. Third one is the friction burns. Road rash, common in motorcycle or bicycle accidents. Rope burns from rapidly moving ropes. Treadmill burns, common in children from falling on moving treadmills. And other causes of burns. Dito po pumapasok yun sa electrocution in forensic pathology. First example is electrical burns. High voltage contact with power lines or electrical outlets. Lightning, direct strike or ground current from a nearby strike. Radiation burns, ionizing radiation, exposure to radioactive materials, non-ionizing radiation from sources like microwaves or intense UV light or other than the sun. Second one is cold burns or the frostbite. Extreme cold, prolonged exposure to freezing temperatures leading to tissue damage. Each type of burn may present differently and requires specific treatment approaches. Proper identification of the cause is crucial for effective management and treatment. Differentiating electrical injuries from other causes of burns. Unique features of electrical injuries, the entry and exit wounds. Entry wound, often smaller and more well-defined, may appear charred or have a central necrotic area. Exit wound, typically larger and more irregular due to the explosive release of energy as the current exits the body. Path of current, electrical current travels through the body, causing damage along its path. This can result in deep tissue and muscle injuries not immediately visible on the surface. So each type of burn has distinct characteristics that aid in diagnosis and management. Electrical injuries in particular require careful assessment for internal damage along the path of the current, which can significantly impact treatment and prognosis. Third one is the legal and ethical considerations in determining manner of death. Determining manner of death, first example is accidental. Characteristics, unintentional injury or poisoning. Common in scenarios like car accidents, falls, and intentional overdoses or accidental electrocution. Investigation requires detailed scene examination, witness interviews, and analysis of circumstances leading to the death to confirm lack of intent. Second one is suicidal. Accurate and thorough documentation. Scene documentation like photographs, sketches, and detailed notes on the scene and body position. Record environmental conditions and any potential evidence. Second one is the medical records. Complete and precise recording of injuries, medical interventions, and any pre-existing conditions. Autopsy reports, detailed findings of external and internal examinations, toxicology results, and histopathology that includes diagrams and photographs of injuries. Chain of custody maintains strict records of evidence handling to ensure integrity for legal proceedings. Consistency ensure all documentation is consistent, comprehensive, and devoid of errors to support legal scrutiny. Reporting for legal proceedings, legal testimony, prepared to provide clear, concise, and unbiased testimony in court. Based testimony on documented findings and professional expertise. Communication with law enforcement. Maintain open and transparent communication with investigating officers and legal teams to support the judicial process. Uh, Now is the ethical responsibilities. Unbiased and objective investigation. First one is the integrity. Conduct an investigation without personal bias, ensuring all findings are based on factual evidence and scientific analysis. The confidentiality, respecting the privacy and confidentiality of the deceased and their families. Share information only with authorized persons. So by adhering to these legal and ethical considerations, professionals can ensure a thorough and unbiased and respectful investigation into the manner of death, providing clear and accurate information for legal and familial resolution. Lastly is the conclusion. First, we have our summary. Electrocution presents unique forensic challenges requiring thorough investigation and a deep understanding of electrical injuries. These challenges include identifying distinctive entry and exit wounds, assessing internal organ damage along the current path, and differentiating from other types of burns. So kaya ako po pinakita yung ibang types ng burns para po mas clear. Importance. Accurate determination of the cause and manner of death in cases of electrocution is crucial for ensuring justice. It aids legal proceedings by providing clear evidence and supports the prevention of future incidents through improved safety measures and public awareness. Thorough and unbiased investigations uphold ethical standards and contribute to the integrity of forensic science. That's all. Thank you.